me? Okay, yeah, sounds good. Okay, we ready to rock, Chris?
Just a moment. Okay.
All right, sounds good. I'd like to call to order the Finance Committee meeting of November 1st. Man, the year has just flown by. 2022. It is 1:01 p.m. and we're live on a digital platform. Present here, let me just check the roll here. From City Council, we have just myself, Liz Mealy, and Randy Allison. Eric Biter won't be able to join us today. From the administration, we have Skip Memmi from Community Development, Chief Snyder from the Police Department, Chief Aunts from the Fire Department, Mayor Slaughter, of course, Jason Bolt from the Police Department, Chief Bolt from the Police Department as well. We have IT, we have, looks like Peg Woodring back here, and Janice Frank from the City Clerk's Office. And we have 4 items on today's agenda, and we're going to go ahead and kick things off with the mayor's item first. A resolution for the Major League Baseball lease agreement. Mayor Slaughter.
Yes, good afternoon, Councilwoman Mealy, Councilman Allison, members of administration. What this is what you've seen for the last number of years. The lease agreement for the MLB Little League Classic game that takes place in Bowman Field every August. The only difference with this one, with the update here, now that RVT has transitioned to an authority, they have been removed and they have to do their own separate agreement with MLB. Other than that, it's everything that you've seen for the last however many number of years now. No changes to any of the rest of the lease agreement. And they've announced next year as well, 2023, the Philadelphia Phillies and the Washington Nationals game for next year. So other than that, it's the standard agreement that we've had in place since 2017 or 2018. You're muted, Liz.
Sorry about that. What will RVTA's agreement then look like with MLB? Presumably.
I believe the large portion of their agreement is related to the transportation of dignitaries, of the shuttle buses that they use when the teams fly into the airport. They shuttle the players, the MLB players, from the airport up to the Little League and Little League complex into Bowman Field. They also shuttle the Little League players as well from the Little League complex to Bowman Field. And then there's a number of rental cars that RVT rents and that the MLB dignitaries and others use, and RVT does the shuttling for that, and then MLB reimburses. But it's so obviously it's pretty much all obviously transit related, that we separated that out moving forward and let RVTA handle that
right
separately.
Okay. All right, Randy, I apologize. I should have passed that over to you anyway. What questions do you have?
No, that's fine, Liz. I just, excuse me, you answered it. My main question was, is it the same lease that we've had? I noticed there were a couple sections that it said were deleted. Were those in reference to RVT?
Yeah, the ones that we took out were all of the RVTA. Yeah, we deleted all those sections out of this agreement. And then there are some discussions that next year we'll have the crosscutters will do their separate lease as well, because theirs is really just around merchandising and stuff. We kept it the same for this one, and MLB and the crosscutters were fine with that. Cutting edge baseball, it's the crosscutters.
Yeah.
But there were some discussions around next year separating that up as well. But that was Austin didn't have a problem with it. MLB didn't either for this year, just leaving crosscutters in this one. So
Okay.
yeah, the only thing that was taken out was RB2, yes. Everything else is exactly the same as it's been.
And that was my other question. Who reviewed it? And you said Austin, so.
Yeah, Austin and MLB's solicitor as well reviewed it, and so did Cutting Edge Baseball / Crosscutter. So
So
technically, 3 attorneys have looked at it.
the dollar amounts and everything are the same.
It's all the same, 25,000.
Yeah.
Yep, everything that it's been since the beginning. Yep, everything, no additional money or anything. Everything's exactly the same.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a rather dense document, but you know, it's got a lot of verbiage in it. But I didn't see anything that caught my attention that I understood anyhow. So that's all I have.
That sounds good, Randy. And those were both great questions. I guess my only other question, Derek, is that there is no foreseeable end then to this MLB game during the series at this point. I noticed the irrevocable options, which sound like we are committed to holding the field open for a game by MLB, but they are allowed to pull out, correct? If I'm interpreting that term properly.
That's
okay.
correct. But no, I don't foresee, this is between this and their Field of Dreams game. They're obviously both extremely popular and very good PR for MLB and you know, all of us. So no, I highly doubt that MLB is going anywhere with this game.
Okay, got it. Yeah, I just initially when this whole thing started, probably five years ago now, it was like a 2-year thing and then it was over. And so every year when it happens, I'm still kind of vaguely surprised, like, oh.
It's going. I think somewhere, one of the sports magazines or something, I forget exactly where it was rated the #1 like youth professional sporting event.
Oh, wow. Okay. Sounds excellent. Then, I mean, perhaps if this is something that looks as though it's going to continue, the city should look into making a bit more out of it on our end. I guess that would be my only suggestion. I don't know exactly what that would look like, but you know, it's a time frame when we already have a bunch of national attention focused on it, but this national attention, particularly being in the city of Williamsport, perhaps we should try to figure out a way that we can make the good for the city.
Yeah,
but,
and
okay.
Similarly to, I mean, unrelated to MLB technically, but it's related to Bowman, is we've discussed usage fees for that field since it's, you know, a really nice field now. Increase. So that we'll probably bring that to council at some point here, the discussion of increasing those fees. I know we talked about that. We raised them a little bit. We're still significantly under other fields, and ours is technically a lot nicer than those. So that's an option for us to increase our revenues as well.
Got it. And we potentially, it would seem like maybe it should at least increase the requirements such that if there were any damage done to the field, we'd be sure to be covering it with whatever insurance and everything. I mean, I would imagine that we've done that, but if we haven't, for some reason, if the insurance coverage we require of the additional users would not cover damage done to the field, then we should certainly be increasing that, just to make certain that the asset isn't damaged somehow. Okay. Then does anyone else? Pardon, Randy?
To your point, Liz, about us maybe getting some marketing or exposure through it. Of course, MLB does their thing with their teams, and they take care of a lot of the infrastructure things. But ESPN, maybe we can start a conversation with them, because they do the Little League, and then they also do this game. Possibly, you know, come up with some ideas that they could give us a little bump.
That's true.
Boost in somewhat. I mean, they do publicize as well, but maybe there's a couple little hooks we could throw in there for people to.
Yeah. Well, you're right. I mean, or even for, I mean, I don't know, there are some other pretty neat things that happen in, you know, not immediately in Williamsport, but in the surrounding areas throughout the rest of the year. You know, 100-mile trail races, et cetera, you know, the Heiner Challenge. just sort of other stuff that is sports oriented that isn't in at the end of August. And, plugging that might be worthwhile, or talking about the other sporting options, in and around the city when you've got a national audience. But anyway, that's something that we can all discuss, ideally significantly prior to next year's Little League season, and see if we can come up with that we could utilize there. Because we all think we live in a pretty cool place, and I think we could do a better job of giving that impression to all the the people elsewhere in the world who are tuning into the series. So, okay. If I don't hear any other comments out there on this item, then thanks for presenting it, Derek. I know you have someplace to be here shortly. And Derek, just to be clear.
Yeah.
Since you and I had discussed having some sort of additional follow-up on finances for the budget this week, we don't need to have that conversation some other time, do we?
No, I don't think so. If anything,
Okay.
I'll have either myself or Tracy reach out to you all with an update. So,
Okay,
yeah,
sounds good. I mean, I'm happy to make myself available for any sort of other conversation, but this was the slot that you and I, for some reason, were both thinking it was going to fall in. So I wanted to make sure that there wasn't anything that, noting that all of the chiefs showed up to today's meeting, I wanted to make sure there wasn't some further discussion that we were all waiting on, or that we needed to be having something. Okay, all right. Then we can go ahead and move on, and good luck at your next meeting there, Derek. All right. Item number 2 is a resolution authorizing the purchase of 2 police vehicles and related outfit equipment. Chief Snyder.
Oh, how's everybody doing?
Good. How are you?
Good. How are you?
Doing
Chief?
good. So bringing forth to the finance meeting, looking for the approval to purchase 2 new police vehicles. As we talked before, we have a police vehicle fleet that we're trying to rebuild and get back up to par. So with that being said, we're looking to purchase 2 right now that are available. So we have 2 2022 Dodge Durangos that are police pursuit vehicle rated from Joe Sacconi's Chrysler Complex, 2380 Military Road in Niagara Falls, New York. And then the cost to upfit each vehicle by Keystone Communications, which is located at 463 Duke Street in Northumberland, PA, for a total cost of $156,150. We're looking for the allocation of the funding to come from the American Rescue Plan Act Fund. So if you do a cost breakdown for it, we're looking at 2 Dodge Durangos at about $41,175 per Durango, which would, for 2 of them, obviously would give us a cost of $82,350. And then for the upfits, we're looking at $36,900 for each upfit, which would include the light package, the graphics, the patrol PCs that we put in there, the MVR system, which would be the video, in-car video camera, the Motorola radio system, and the cradle point connectivity, as well as the storage rack system. So each one, like I said, would be $36,900 for the upfit. For 2 vehicles would be $73,800, and the total, like I said, would be $156,150. So this approval to purchase these vehicles would be as the result of a emergency proclamation that was reviewed by our city solicitor, Austin White, and given for approval. A nationwide search for the Dodge Durango PPV vehicles has been conducted by this administration. As a result, we did locate 2 that were up in Niagara Falls. If you remember, that's where we got the last 4 that we purchased came from Niagara Falls up there as well, from the same dealership. And that's about what I have right now. I'll open up the floor for any questions.
Thanks, Chief. Randy, did you have any questions?
Well, excuse me, we had discussed this at the last Tuesday budget session.
Yes.
And perhaps you can address, Chief, what this is under the item of the 2 vehicles. You talked about the loss. We have the 2 vehicles that we're down. So it's kind of an emergency need to replace those 2 by some means.
Yes, as we discussed before, and we're well aware of that, our vehicle fleet is in dire need of updating. So As of the last month or so, we lost 2 more vehicles from our vehicle fleet and are in dire need of new vehicles. Our 4 vehicles that we just did purchase in 2021 are great. However, what's happening with that is everybody wants to use those vehicles, so they're getting used hard and abundantly right now. So we're trying to get more. So the idea is to get an additional 4 more through ARPA if we can. However, only 2 are available right now. So provided that 2 more become available, I would come to you again for the additional 2, which would bring us up to 8 newer vehicles for the vehicle fleet. So I'm working on a vehicle fleet management program right now that to put in place to make sure that we're keeping up with the fleet. So I can touch on that a little bit more as well. But so we're just trying to get our vehicle fleet back up to where it needs to be. And then the idea is to manage it and maintain it each year with purchasing new vehicles, making sure we budget for no less than 2 vehicles and make that purchase each year as needed and keep doing that. And then the vehicles will cycle. So right now I'm putting together a list of all the vehicles that we have and rating them from best to worst in terms of mileage, usage, and current status. And that's how we would follow through and keep cycling out those vehicles and keep a cyclic management system going on with the vehicle fleet, so we do not find ourselves in this position again down in the future. So,
Right. And Chief, refresh my memory. Did we? I don't have anything written down about it. That's why I'm asking. Did we discuss the option of leasing?
yeah, right now that's not working. There's some guidelines that were reviewed that need to be abided by third-class city law. And so that has come up and has been a problem right now to come to an agreement for a lease program. So right now, that's not a viable option pursuant to a review by our city solicitor. Not to say that that could never happen down the line, but right now it's not a viable option.
What was that through Austin?
Yes.
Okay. Maybe he can enlighten us about as well about some of those things. That's all I have.
I would observe, Randy, that regardless of whether or not we're pursuing a lease option through like an organized lease option through a company, I mean, the city could follow some of the same guidance that we were receiving when we were looking at an organized lease option through a firm, which is, I think, use the cars for 5 years and then sell them and acquire new, with the idea that the resale value is higher with a lower usage, right? But I'm not sure if that's the route we want to go. We've always kind of gone with the drive the cars into the ground strategy, but you know, that I think it seems to me that part of the point of a lease arrangement was to switch the vehicles out when they were paid in full, but still had usable life in them, because the resale value for used cars is so high right now.
Yeah.
But anyway, Chief, refresh my memory. Last time we bought cars, I mean, and I'm thinking of that even the ones that we purchased in 2021. I didn't remember them costing $80,000 a piece.
No, it's not a piece. It's actually $41,175.
Well, yeah, but I mean $80,000 between upfit. I remember the cost of a police vehicle being somewhere in the 55 to 60 range.
What you're looking at for these, though, because it would be new vehicles, it's for a larger part of the cost comes from the computer systems and the video system that we have to put into it.
Okay, and we
So
can't get that from a car.
Going to make a little bit higher. With the last time, we were able to take some parts from some other vehicles to make it where it wasn't as bad. So, in terms of cost.
Okay, but we don't have parts we can port over from other vehicles at this point.
We might have some that we can look into, but right now with the computer, we don't have the computer parts that we'd have to put into it. So,
got it. I'm just looking. So this is the Patrol PC, Motorola MVR, and Motorola radio system. A total cost of about $21,000 a car, right?
Correct.
Okay. And none of those items are things that we can move over from old cars. I guess
No.
I guess part of what I'm trying to figure out is this just the cost of new police cars now, about $80,000 a piece moving forward?
Unfortunately, with the upfits are going to be a little bit more involved with the technology. So we are going to be looking to pay out a little bit more for the technologies that we're looking to utilize in policing. So
Okay.
unfortunately, yes.
And to what extent are those technological elements going to need to be replaced with every new vehicle now moving forward?
Yes, we're looking to do, that's going to be pretty much it, because right now we're looking to come to you at a later time for maybe possible funding, whether it's through ARPA or for just budgeting for new computer systems for all the vehicles that we're going to have to start looking at, because that too has been let go for too long. I don't know if Chris would want to, Black there would want to chime in on that. He could give a little bit more, but that's something that we need to start looking into and updating as well. So,
well, so hang on, or Chris, you can answer this question too. I'm looking at $4,000 for a patrol PC in this car. Are you telling me that we're buying this one, but then you're going to want to replace it moving forward?
Within a life cycle of the system, yeah. The last ones were purchased, I remember what, about 10 years ago for the cars. And we just can't do much more with them at this point. They're not just a typical laptop. They're in a titanium case. They're made to be rugged and in a vehicle, and to be literally to be abused.
Right.
And Chris has been doing a great job keeping us afloat. I think our newest computer we have is of 5 years. And if you think about technology of your own computer equipment and think about policing now, where we're using it constantly on a daily basis, on shift to shift basis. So we're way behind on that.
My computer's 13 years old, Chief. You don't want me thinking about that, because I'm going to tell you got to look further.
Okay.
But also a lot of the newer software that we're making use of in the vehicles won't run on these older machines.
Yeah. No, I mean, I guess my question is, so you're telling me that we need to update all the PCs across all the cars, right?
Yes. Yeah.
At the cost of about $4,000 a car, Chris, correct?
Yes.
Okay. And what I'm asking.
So you do know.
Mm-hmm.
But so you do know that we did apply for a grant for that. So
Okay.
that was just we just did that. I think it was October 13th where we did the submission for that.
Got it.
We're hoping that we can.
Okay. So that, but my question in that case perhaps is even more relevant, which is, do we want to put new PCs in these 2 new cars that we're getting if there's a chance that we're getting a grant in a month or 2 that will allow us to replace all the PCs? And if these PCs would be new and would not need to be replaced, like, it's not as though we're buying a suite of new equipment, right, Chris? And these would also need to be replaced when we do that?
No, these would not be replaced.
Okay.
So we would not be purchasing those. So that would offset the total cost then. So we would have 2 in advance that we had purchased. And then with the money from the grant, we obviously would not make the purchase of these two computers.
Got it. But yeah, I guess the other question I'm asking is, do we have something we can limp along with for a month or 2? Because if we got the grant, it would be, I'm guessing we could get a better price if we were purchasing what was your grant for, 15?
What was it? Yeah, for 15 computers, yes. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm guessing you can get a better price if you're purchasing 15 versus purchasing 2. Yeah, I'm just trying to figure out what our kind of best bang for our buck is on that. But I'll take you guys' advice. So then that would, at least in every new car we purchase, say the two more cars that you're looking for currently, plus whatever we're building into the 2023 budget, we would still need to replace the radio and the MBR.
Yes.
Okay. So the grant would not cover a global replacement of those items, correct? The grant that you just applied for was just for PCs, not for the other technological elements of the
No,
cars?
that was just for the PCs, for the vehicles, yes.
Got it. All right. Just trying to wrap my head around it. That is just that's a huge jump in the cost of what I thought of, of what I thought of as the cost of a police car to this city. So trying to wrap my head around that as a new budget item. And then we're looking at both the cars and the technology basically petering out in about 5 or 6 years. Is that accurate?
I would say, Chris could probably answer that a little better than I could, but yeah, I think if we start looking at the life of about 5 years. So we already need to have, a replacement plan
Right.
already started, I think, and that's what we're working on right now with a lot of things within the department.
Got it. So Chris, the radio, all of that stuff times out is like a 5-year replacement?
The radio, I'm not so sure of. The computers and so forth, yeah, they should be refreshed every 5 years. Or on that
Computers
type of
and
rotation
MVR.
basis. And
I don't know what
MVR and so forth, yeah. The
Okay.
radios I'm not that familiar with, so I can't answer to that.
Okay.
But as far as the video system and the
Okay.
computers, yes.
Every 5. Got it. Okay. Mamma mia. Sorry, guys.
If you don't, we end up with what we're doing now is cobbling pieces together to keep systems up and going, and then sometimes replacing pieces 2 or 3 times within the course of a season.
Yeah. No, I'm not arguing, Chris. It is insane to me. I'm still struggling with the increased necessity of a lot of this technology, and then also just the replacement cycle. It seems as though almost every year the replacement cycle gets shorter and the replacement cost increases, right? It is hard for me to understand how the world is going to keep up with this in the long run, right?
Sometimes I think it's because we let it go for so long, and that's lulled us into a comfort zone of that we were okay with it. And the reality is that we can't keep going at this rate with this technology that's outdated. So
yeah.
When I worked in public education, we had a 3-year refresh on everything.
Yeah, no, exactly. Yeah, I think, well, I can only speak for my small little corner of the private sector, but no way that's happening around here. But I understand it as being, a more basic necessity, especially with police work. Anyway, none of that is me saying I don't think this is a good idea. We did have these discussions. We did agree, Chief, that we would look at funding, a few cars out of ARPA funds to get the department back on track because we desperately need the vehicles, and then budgeting that cost moving forward. But so what you were telling me, are we budgeting 3 or 4 cars for next year?
I want to do 2. The idea for me I'm looking at doing this management program to see how we can do it. And like I said, we already got the 4 vehicles from 2021. There's only 2 vehicles available right now. So if we can get these 2, then an additional 2 that we can purchase through ARPA, that would put us up to 8. And then I like to budget for 2 vehicles and then up for 2023, and then continue that cycle as we move on and keep cycling vehicles out. I think if we get to that point, we're going to be in a good position.
What's our total fleet?
Our total fleet right now, we are looking at, I just did this the other day. So we got 20 vehicles right now that we have total in our vehicle fleet. However, 3 of those vehicles, one's an armored truck, one's a transit truck, and one's our forensics van. And
those are longer lifespan vehicles?
Typically, yeah, because they don't get as much usage as the day-to-day patrol vehicles. So. Got
it. So we're looking at 17 vehicles, and each of them needs to be replaced. We're estimating every 5 years, correct?
Yeah, that's safe.
Let's say 6, because 17 divides slightly more conveniently by 6. So we'd be looking at basically we should be budgeting 3 vehicles a year. You're telling me, especially
3 vehicles would be ideal, but no less than 2 is what I'm.
Okay. Well, I would suggest that we should be budgeting for 3 then, because what I've been hearing from the police department is that we're having issues with some of our vehicle purchases, which led to this moment of we need to buy cars right now. So it seems as though our wisest option would be to perhaps slightly over budget for the fleet here for the next couple of years, and then pull that back when we feel that we have an adequate complement of vehicles.
Yes, no, I wholeheartedly agree with you. I just don't want to go below 2.
Okay. Well, I guess I would, right, yeah. It just seems foolish for us to not be trying to budget for the proper number of vehicles we need because we know where that got us. Okay. All right. Anyway. Okay. Randy, did you have any further questions?
No, I don't. No.
Okay. Actually, I have one last question, Chief. Is this CoStar's
Yes.
pricing? Yeah.
No,
No.
this is not. So,
Is that because it's through New York State or?
no, they're trying to get on board with that, but it was because they're the only vehicles available.
Okay.
And actually, we did it, like I said, we did a nationwide search, and these are the only 2 available police pursuit vehicles that we were able to locate. I was hoping to find more because I would have came at you with 4 vehicles, trying to procure 4 vehicles, but only 2 are available at this time.
Got it. So you're telling me we're also paying a bit of a premium for these?
Nah, it's not much of a difference than what we paid for the last 4 that we got. So
Okay. All right. And the Durangos have been working for us.
yes, they're doing great. Like
Okay.
I said, my biggest concern with the 4 that we got now is that the overuse, because everybody wants to use the new vehicles.
Okay.
So
There isn't a way
I'm
that we can just prevent that.
Yeah, by getting more vehicles. So
Well, I mean, we can't just say only veteran officers get the prime vehicles and everyone else gets allocated a vehicle or something.
no, I'm a little bit backwards on that. I want the good vehicles to go to our younger officers that are out there and hitting the streets. So
That's fine. I mean, but it seems to me as though we should be telling people which cars they get to use so that we don't wind up destroying our new vehicles.
yeah, we do, but you're still going to you got 4 new vehicles that we have to use. You know what I mean? There's no sense of having 4 new vehicles and putting a limit on how much you can use them. Then it kind of defeats the purpose of what they're there for. Does that make sense? So
No, it doesn't.
We're actually using all the vehicles abundantly, but
Okay, you're telling me they're getting used too much, and then you're telling me that there's no point to not using them. That's where I'm confused. But if you're telling me that you simply don't have enough vehicles, so they're all getting overused, then that makes more sense.
Yes, I mean, if you have a new vehicle versus an older vehicle, yes, everybody goes towards a new vehicle, and it is what it is. So,
Well, I guess what I'm saying is, as chief, it would strike me that you should be trying to maintain the fleet in the best quality that we can maintain it. And if that means that we need to limit the use of the vehicles that are obviously preferred by officers, then it would seem like that would be a wise move so that we don't find ourselves in the same situation in a year or so where we've beaten our new vehicles into the ground and we're needing new ones. So, so I would recommend that as a course of action in the department, that we try to protect those vehicles and make sure that they're not being used to death. But hopefully the additional 2 will help with that. But I think that we should make sure that we're using our fleet equally, because otherwise I think we're just going to wind up in the same situation here in a year or so, with some beater cars that haven't been beaten to death, and then the new cars are worn out. And then the cars that the police have that are no longer useful for the police are truly not useful, correct? They can't be transferred to another department.
no, they usually go on municipal.
Okay. Yeah, I'm just saying, we have other departments that need vehicles. Are these cars so destroyed that they couldn't be used elsewhere in the city?
So
Yeah.
vehicles that we have, they won't pass inspection. So
Oh, okay. Well, that's pretty indicative. All right. Codes department's having the same problem, I hear. But, okay. All right. Randy, did you have anything else you wanted to say?
No, I don't. Nope.
Okay. All right. Then we'll keep going. I will someday get used to this not voting thing. Thank you very much, Chief, and Chief Bolt as well. And we will see you guys on Thursday. All right. Item number 3, a resolution to concur with City of Williamsport Redevelopment Authority transfer of real estate. Skip, what can you tell me?
Good afternoon, everybody.
Yeah.
This transfer of real estate that the redevelopment authority approved on Thursday of last week to the Lycoming Habitat for Humanity is the residual parcel that was left over from when memorial homes were built, the memorial homes project. It's taken this long for us to get it through the bidding process and finally getting to an award position. And the redevelopment authority actually has title of the property, but the city needs to concur with that decision. The Habitat is going to build 6 units on this piece of property, 6 individual homes for people of low to moderate income, and also develop a green space for the neighborhood. So we have a small neighborhood park. And if everything happens the way Habitat has laid out a schedule, that within the next 5 years, this project will be complete. They're looking to do 2 homes a year and move it along those lines. And we're coming to council for their concurrence to the actions taken by the redevelopment authority. I'll try to answer any questions if I can.
Thanks. Good. Randy?
Yes, well then, hang on a second here. So we'd be excuse me, financing, they'd be financing through us for $200,000 a year for 5 years.
No, the $200,000 is a one-time
That's a one-time, okay,
contribution.
all right.
One-time contribution. The thing that is annualized for 5 years is their Choto award. And right now they're the only legitimate Choto within the city of Williamsport. And they get approximately $70,000 a year.
Okay, so
So
70,
the
okay.
total contribution to the project would range in the area of 350 and about $550,000. Their cost to build each one of these homes is approximately $250,000 a unit.
Okay, yeah, they receive from us 70,000 and a home fund grant of 200,000 through 2027.
Yes, sir.
So that's okay, 5 years of 70 and then the 200,000.
Correct. And if they fail to build them within that 5-year period, the redevelopment authority would take possession of the residual properties that weren't built.
Okay. Okay.
If I can, so you're saying it's a total of $550,000 in total. Explain to me, so where's the home fund grant? What section of home funding is that coming from? I know we have the total amount.
We have a portion of unused home funds that we have acquired over the last few years. And
Are you talking about the ones that are repaid by home buyers?
Home buyers and or projects such as, I believe it was, trying to think, I think it was Lynn Street or Greer Street, one of them that was we were returned $500,000 when the Yoder group refinanced their project. So we do have some monies, and the administration felt that this was a good way to utilize the funds to build new housing within the city.
Was this part of the pool that we were potentially going to put into a first-time home buyer pool?
Part of it, yes.
And that was what, a total of 1.2 million we had?
In that neighborhood, yes, Liz.
Okay. Will any of this funding come back to the city? That is to say, when the homes are sold, do we get any of this money back? Or when are we first or second lien on any of these properties
We
after
will
the
have
home?
second position.
Okay, so, and that will be worth to what extent will this 550,000 come back to the city at some point?
It all depends on how long anyone would live in the properties. That Habitat's arrangements typically run out 30 years with the people that they do the program with.
Okay,
So-
and then if the people live in the property for 30 years, they don't pay any of that second lien?
Correct.
Okay, and if they sell prior to that, then they pay back the second.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so there's the potential, not even the $200,000 would come back to the city at any point.
There is that potential. That's correct.
Okay, because the first time home buyers program we have, that money does come back to the city, correct?
Yes,
Which is the 1.2. So we are talking about investing $200,000 of monies that would theoretically come back to the city in a project in which they will no longer return. This is a
Right.
one-time.
this is a one-time grant. You're correct.
Okay.
But
And
just to
why?
give you a perspective on this, if I may, we did put this project out on Penn Bid to see if we could find other interested developers who might do it, for-profit developers and nonprofits.
And
And
did
the
we
only proposal we received was from Habitat.
And with this amount of funding, it went on Penn Bid with the $550,000 from the city?
No,
Okay,
we were trying to find a developer who was willing to come in and invest their own money in the project.
oh yeah, no, I understand that, but I mean, this is a substantial difference, right? If we're putting $550,000 toward the construction of 6 homes versus asking
Well,
somebody.
Right now, Habitat would be getting that $70,000 a year, no matter what project they would do. The Chodo
Right.
is theirs. So
Right.
we are only really investing 200,000 in the project.
Right, well, they would be getting that $70,000 a year on any project they were doing in the city.
Correct.
Right. So basically, we are simply allocating all of their efforts for the next handful of years toward this parcel
Correct.
versus other parcels in the city.
Correct.
So I understand that as being something that we obviously couldn't have given to any other developer. But was there a reason why we couldn't have given the 200,000 to any other developer?
No one ever approached us, Liz, to be honest with you.
Okay, so we marketed it as a no funds in, somebody had to build on it proposition. But I guess, Randy, I'm assuming this is kind of what you were driving at,
Mhm.
like, because, I mean, I know the construction costs are higher now than they have been for however long, and that generally speaking, Habitat's build is significantly more expensive, even though they largely build with volunteers, than the actual sale price of the home. But we are still, we are contributing $70,000 annually toward, so effectively, we will have put close to $60,000 into each of these homes, to write down the cost of the homes. I somewhat share Randy's concerns about the idea of, an additional $200,000 toward this project that isn't coming back into that fund that we are fortunate to have established through other home grants that were a 0% interest loan, I believe, and then the funding comes back to the city afterward. There is no way to make that a condition of this project as well.
We could try to negotiate something with it. Yes, ma'am.
Okay, because I guess,
Can't give you the answer.
this $200,000 had never really been an element of the discussion. We've had multiple discussions with Habitat over the years about working on that parcel, and they've always been exceptionally excited about it.
Mhm.
But this $200,000 of additional funding had never really been an element of the discussion before. And without some further justification for it, I'm a little confused as to why it's essential to the project at this point. Either way, I would suggest that 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 section reads to me slightly is a little bit confusing, and perhaps it would seem like it would be slightly better wording if it said a one-time home fund grant toward this project of $200,000. Because there would be room to read that as we're making a $270,000 contribution a year. But that's a small semantics point. But yeah, I would like to have further discussions, maybe between Habitat and the city, about that $200,000 and whether or not we can make that money that will eventually, not now, but eventually return to the city's coffers to be lent out to other future first-time home buyers. Because I think that I'm being
attend the council meeting if that's what you would like.
Yeah, I will. That's fine. Or we could have the discussion at another time if the administration wanted to wait to pass this agreement until December. That's up to you folks. But I would put that out there that those are questions I have, and we could have it at the council meeting, or we could wait until we could find some time in November that we could have the conversation, perhaps separately, and then look at it in November. So I'd put that to Derek, put that to Habitat, and decide how you prefer to have that. But because I would assume if Randy and I both have that question, then probably other members of council will as well. But I could be totally wrong. That's hard for me to say.
It's no problem. It's just it'll delay their ability to be able to start doing the subdivision and land development plans until they have equitable title.
Okay. Okay. Well, so like I said, we can do it on Thursday, which would theoretically keep the timeline the same, or we can do it at some point in between now and our next December.
And the documents were reviewed by Norm Lubin and Attorney Holland before I presented them to you.
Okay.
And we can do that grammatical change that you're looking for.
Got it. Either way is fine. I just think it would be a little more clear. Obviously, all the parties understand what the arrangement is. It's not as though Habitat's going to come back in 2 years and be like, wait, you're not giving us our $200,000 a year. But nonetheless, for the sake of posterity, it might be helpful. The one other point I would make, well, I guess the only thing I would say about that $200,000 in the first time homebuyer pool is that in talking with area realtors, that was kind of the primary thing that I heard from them, was that they needed more support for first-time home buyers in the city, which is why I'm reluctant to see us promising funding out of that 1.2 million that we theoretically have to kick in for additional first-time home buyer funds as something that won't come back to us. Not that it needs to come back to us now, but the idea that that money is simply gone. When there's so clearly a demonstrated need for it in the city to help people purchase homes in our community. That's why I'm trying to figure out if there's a way that we can restructure that funding.
I agree with you.
Okay. All right, Randy, did you have any further points? Because I totally just spot there.
No, you hit the nail on the head, Liz. Thanks.
All right. I did have one or two other questions, Skip. So these are 3 addressed slots, correct? Hold on, let me go back to the addresses themselves. 16, 16. What's that?
12, 14, and 16, I think.
Yeah, but they're building 6 homes.
They're building 6 units.
Okay, I'm assuming that.
The data that we provided you goes back to something that was put together 4, 5, 6 years ago. And as they go forward with their land development plan, the addresses may change and the subdivision will change also.
Got it. So we'll be subdividing those 3 lots into 6, and those will still be lots that abide by code, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And the parklet, the small neighborhood park that we're talking about, will that be maintained moving forward by the city, by Habitat?
I had figured it was best to be maintained by habitat. But if the city, if council would prefer it be in a different direction, we can work that out.
No, I'm fine with it being maintained by Habitat. I was just surprised if that would actually work for them kind of in perpetuity. That seemed like a bit of an ask. But as long as that's okay with them, then it's fine, you know, it's fine by me. That just seems like maintaining parks is not cheap, as we discover routinely in the city. And that includes even just such maintenance as mowing the grass and everything.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so they're fully responsible for that park.
That's the intention.
Okay,
That's
all right.
quite
Well,
a commitment. Yeah,
is that where the $200,000 came from?
Now, the 200,000, they felt that their cost analysis was such that if they didn't receive that support, they couldn't do this project either.
Okay.
Hmm.
Because that is the first time that I've ever heard that from them. Is
yeah,
that true?
they've never asked before. Yeah.
I mean, they definitely have always been interested in receiving Chodo funding for it, but there's never been an additional number on top of that. But I do think the last discussions we had about it were pre-pandemic. Yeah.
Yes, yes.
Okay. All right. So yeah, I guess with those comments, we'll move forward to the council meeting on Thursday and see what else comes out of the discussion. Skip.
Very good. Thank you very much for your time.
Okay. Well, thank you very much for yours. All right. And we will move on to item number 4, which is any related items. I'm not real sure who we still have out here, but does anybody have anything else that they would like to bring to the discussion? All right, hearing nothing, I would take a motion to adjourn.
So move.
Second, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay. All right, folks, then we will see you on Thursday. And if anything arises in the meantime, just feel free to reach out by text or email or phone. Okay. All right. Thanks a lot.
Good afternoon, everybody.
Yes, you too. Take care, everyone.
Bye-bye.